Before you decide to scroll away, before you tell yourself, I'll watch this later, let me ask you something very personal. Have you noticed that your heart doesn't attach the way it used to? Not just to people, but to life itself. Things that once excited you now feel quiet. People you once cared deeply about no longer shake your heart the same way. And sometimes late at night, you sit with the strange feeling and think, why do I feel like this? And why can't I explain it to anyone? Most people watching this right now are silently asking the same question. And here's the truth, most reminders never tell you this phase you're in is not common. It only comes after deep emotional pain, after years of caring too much, after loving, trusting and hoping until the heart became tired. That's why I want you to listen carefully, because if you misunderstand this moment, you will make the exact mistake that keeps people stuck for years. They panic. They think something is wrong with them. So they rush back to old attachments, old habits, old people, old ways of coping, and they undo what Allah was quietly fixing. But if you understand what Allah is doing right now, this phase will become the turning point of your entire life. By the end of this message, you will understand why Allah makes the heart detach, why this happens after pain, not before, why forcing emotions back is dangerous, and why the calm you feel is not emptiness, it is preparation. And here's something very important. If this message was not meant for you, you would have clicked away already. The fact that you're still listening means Allah wants you to understand this phase before you damage yourself emotionally. So please, I don't listen to this casually. Listen as if Allah is explaining what you've been feeling but could never put into words. Stay with me until the end, because the last part of this message will explain what happens next after the heart reaches this stage. And most people never reach that part because they give up too early. Stay. Your heart will recognize the truth before your mind does. Allah is teaching your heart where it truly belongs. My dear brother, my dear sister, there comes a very quiet moment in life when Allah gently reaches for your heart. Not with force, not with fear, not with pain that shocks you awake, but with calm. So calm that at first you don't even notice it. You just feel different. You notice that your heart does not rush the way it used to. It does not cling the way it once did. It does not beg, chase or panic the same way anymore. And you sit there sometimes in silence, sometimes in confusion, thinking, what has changed inside me? Let me tell you something gently. Nothing has gone wrong. For a long time, your heart was living everywhere except where it was meant to live. It was tied to people's moods. It was attached to how others treated you. It rose when someone stayed. It fell when someone pulled away. Your peace depended on messages, on responses, on outcomes. Your happiness depended on plans working out exactly the way you imagined. And you carried all of this quietly. You smiled, you functioned, you kept going. But inside your heart was tired, tired of hoping, tired of fearing loss, tired of trying to control what was never in your hands. Allah saw that tired heart. He saw how much you cared. He saw how deeply you loved. He saw how much weight you were carrying without complaining. And because Allah is gentle, He did not break your heart to teach you. He softened your grip instead. Slowly, He began to loosen the attachment. Not all at once. Not in a way that would scare you. Just enough for your heart to breathe. That is why one day you realized that certain things no longer shake you the same way. Certain people no longer have the same power over your emotions. Certain outcomes no longer define your worth. And instead of chaos, you felt something else, quiet. At first, that quiet felt strange. You wondered if you had become cold, if you had lost your ability to love deeply, if something precious inside you had disappeared. But listen carefully. What left your heart was not love. What left your heart was exhaustion. Your heart was never meant to belong to everything and everyone. It was never designed to carry the weight of the world. It was designed to belong first to Allah. When the heart forgets where it belongs, it suffers. When the heart remembers Allah again, it rests. This loosening you feel is Allah gently guiding your heart back to its true home. Not away from life, not away from people, but away from emotional slavery. Because there is a difference between caring and being owned. Before, your heart was owned by outcomes, owned by expectations, owned by people's behavior. Now Allah is teaching your heart freedom. Freedom does not mean you stop loving. It means love no longer controls you. Freedom does not mean you stop caring. It means caring no longer destroys you. Allah is teaching your heart that it can love without drowning, hope without desperation, and trust without panic. This stage feels unfamiliar because it is new. You are used to intensity. You are used to emotional highs and lows. You are used to attachment feeling like proof of love. But Allah is showing you something deeper. He is showing you that peace does not come from holding tighter. It comes from holding Allah closer. When your heart begins to return to Allah, you start needing less from people. Not because people are unimportant, but because your heart is finally being fed from the right source. And when Allah becomes the source, the heart no longer starves. So if you feel less attached now, less desperate, less afraid of losing, do not be alarmed. This is not emptiness. This is healing. This is Allah gently saying, let me carry you now. And when Allah carries your heart, you stop needing to carry the world alone. Your heart is not fading. It is finally resting. As this quiet change continues inside you, you may notice something else. You no longer feel the urge to explain yourself to everyone. You no longer feel the need to prove your worth. You no longer feel restless when things don't go your way. Before, your heart would rush ahead of you. It would imagine futures. It would replay conversations. It would hold on to what if and if only. And that constant movement inside your chest made you tired in ways you couldn't explain. Now Allah is slowing your heart down, not to stop your life, not to make you empty, but to protect you. Because some hearts break not from one big pain, but from years of small emotional pressure. Pressure to be enough, pressure to be understood, pressure to be chosen, pressure to be appreciated. Allah saw that pressure building inside you, so He gently removed the weight by teaching your heart where it truly belongs. When your heart belongs to Allah, it stops begging creation for what only the Creator can give. It stops asking people to fill spaces they were never meant to fill. It stops expecting stability from things that change. And slowly, quietly, your heart learns trust. Not loud trust, not dramatic trust, but calm trust. You begin to realize that even when people disappoint you, your heart does not collapse anymore. Even when plans fall apart, you do not feel destroyed inside. Even when you are alone, you do not feel abandoned the same way. This does not mean you don't feel pain. It means pain no longer owns you. Allah is teaching your heart how to stand without leaning too hard on anything else. And that lesson is gentle but powerful. You may also notice that you crave less noise now, less drama, less emotional chaos. You find comfort in silence, in reflection, in moments where you can just breathe. That is not loneliness. That is your heart finally hearing itself again. And more importantly, hearing Allah. When the world becomes quieter in your heart, Allah's presence becomes clearer. This is why sometimes Allah takes things away slowly. So slowly that you don't even realize when attachment disappears. If He removed everything at once, your heart would panic. So He removes it gently. So your heart learns peace instead of fear. My dear one, this stage may feel strange because it does not feel intense. There is no emotional rush, no dramatic attachment, no constant longing, just steadiness. And steadiness can feel unfamiliar. When you've lived your life on emotional highs and lows, but this steadiness is a gift. It means your heart is no longer living in survival mode. It means Allah is telling your heart, you are safe now. Safe to feel without breaking. Safe to love without losing yourself. Safe to hope without anxiety. And the most beautiful part is this: Allah is not taking love away from you. He is purifying it. Before, love came with fear. Fear of loss. Fear of rejection. Fear of not being enough. Now, love is keener, cleaner, healthier. You love without attachment owning you. You care without sacrificing your peace. You give without emptying yourself. This is not distance from life. This is depth. Allah is raising your heart from emotional dependence to spiritual independence, from chasing to trusting, from holding tightly to placing everything gently in Allah's hands. So if you sit sometimes and feel this calm inside you, this emotional stillness, do not rush to fill it. Do not assume something is missing. This is Allah teaching your heart how to rest. And when the heart rests with Allah, it becomes strong in ways the world cannot shake. You are not losing your heart. You are finally finding where it belongs. And that is one of Allah's greatest gifts. Detachment is not coldness, it is Allah's mercy. Sometimes you look at yourself and think, I am not the same anymore. You notice that your emotions don't rise as quickly. Your reactions are softer. Your heart no longer jumps into situations the way it once did. And deep inside, a quiet worry appears. Have I become cold? Have I lost my softness? Why don't I feel the same anymore? Let me tell you something very important. You have not become cold. You have become protected. There is a big difference. Coldness comes from bitterness. Coldness comes from hatred. Coldness comes from shutting the heart completely. What you are experiencing is not that. What you are experiencing is Allah placing mercy around your heart. For a long time, your heart was exposed. Every word reached it. Every reaction affected it. Every disappointment cut it. You felt deeply. You cared deeply. And because of that, you were hurt deeply. Allah saw how sensitive your heart was. He saw how quickly you forgave, how easily you trusted, how much you gave without keeping anything for yourself. And people did not always treat that heart gently. So Allah stepped in, not to harden your heart, but to shield it. This is why your emotions now feel calmer. This is why you don't react immediately. This is why you don't feel pulled into every emotional storm. Allah is teaching your heart how to stay safe. Because not every battle deserves your tears. Not every situation deserves your emotional energy. Not every person deserves access to your heart. Before, your heart was open to everything. Now, Allah is teaching it wisdom. You still feel. You still care. But you no longer bleed for everything. That is not coldness. That is mercy. Some people think strong faith means feeling everything deeply all the time. But sometimes strong faith means knowing when to step back. Allah does not want you emotionally exhausted. He does not want you constantly hurt. He does not want you living in pain disguised as love. So He gives you calm, and calm can feel strange. When you are used to intensity, you might miss the emotional rush. You might miss the strong attachment. You might miss feeling everything so deeply. But what you don't miss is the pain that came with it. The sleepless nights, the overthinking, the heaviness in your chest. Allah removed that slowly, and He did it in a way that did not break you. That is mercy. You see, when Allah protects the heart, He does not close it. He covers it. Just like a wound that needs time to heal, the heart also needs quiet to recover. So Allah reduces the noise, lowers emotional intensity. He distances you from what drains you. He teaches you to observe instead of react. And this new calm inside you is not emptiness, it is safety. You may notice now that when something goes wrong, you still feel sadness, but it doesn't destroy you. When someone disappoints you, you feel it, but you don't lose yourself. When plans fail, you pause, but you don't collapse. That is Allah holding your heart steady before emotions controlled you. Now Allah is teaching your heart control, not control through force, but control through trust. Trust that Allah sees. Trust that Allah knows. Trust that Allah will take care of what you release. And this is why your heart feels quieter. Not because it has less love, but because it has less fear. Fear of losing, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. Allah is gently removing those fears. So if someone tells you, you've changed, smile softly, because yes, you have. You have changed from someone constantly hurting into someone Allah is protecting. And that protection is a gift many people don't recognize until their heart is completely broken. Allah protected yours early. As Allah continues to protect your heart, you may notice something else. You no longer feel the need to react immediately. You pause. You breathe. You allow things to pass before they enter your heart. Before, everything went straight inside. Every comment, every silence, every change in tone. Your heart used to ask, what did I do wrong? Why are they distant? Why does this feel different? And those questions stole your peace. Now, Allah is teaching your heart patience, not the kind that feels forced, but the kind that feels calm. You are learning that not everything needs a response. Not every silence needs interpretation. Not every behavior needs explanation. This is not carelessness. This is clarity. Allah is showing your heart that it does not need to chase understanding from everyone. Because some people do not know themselves, yet you were trying to understand them deeply. Some people were confused, yet your heart was blaming itself. Allah saw that confusion hurting you, so He protected you with distance inside the heart. You still see people, you still interact, but they no longer sit so deeply inside you, and that is mercy. Because when people sit too deeply in the heart, they control your emotions without knowing it. They become the reason you smile or cry, the reason you feel at peace or anxious. Allah does not want your heart owned like that. Your heart belongs to Him, so He gently pulled it back. You may also notice now that when something ends, you accept it faster than before. Not because it didn't matter, but because you trust Allah more. Before, endings felt like failure, like loss, like something went wrong. Now endings feel clearer. You say, Allah knows. Allah chose this. There must be goodness here. This does not mean it doesn't hurt. It means the hurt does not rule you. Allah is teaching your heart surrender. Not surrender out of weakness, but surrender out of faith. Faith that what leaves was never meant to stay forever. Faith that what stays is part of your journey. Faith that Allah does not take without wisdom. And this faith brings calm. That calm you feel is not emptiness. It is trust growing inside you. You are learning that you don't need to guard your heart with walls. Allah guards it better than you ever could. So you stop forcing closeness. You stop chasing clarity from people who cannot give it. You stop explaining yourself to those who misunderstand you. And suddenly, life feels lighter. Not perfect, not easy, but lighter. Because your heart is no longer fighting battles it was never meant to fight. Allah is teaching your heart to rest while He handles the rest. And when the heart rests, it heals slowly, quietly, without noise. This stage may feel lonely at times, not because you are alone, but because you are no longer emotionally crowded. There is space now, and in that space, Allah places peace. Peace that does not depend on people behaving well. Peace that does not disappear when plans change. Peace that stays even when answers are delayed. This is a rare gift. Many people live their whole lives emotionally exposed, reacting to everything, hurting from everything. Allah spared you that. He wrapped your heart gently before it broke completely. So if your heart feels calmer now, less attached, less reactive, do not fight it. Do not force old feelings back. Allah knows what He is doing with your heart. And when Allah protects something, it is because it is precious to Him. Your heart is precious. That is why Allah covered it with mercy. Your heart was carrying burdens Allah never gave you. Sometimes the heart feels heavy and you don't even know why. Nothing dramatic happened today. No big argument. No major loss. Yet inside there is a weight, a quiet tiredness that words cannot explain. You wake up already exhausted. You go through your day carrying something unseen. You lie down at night and feel pressure in your chest. And you ask yourself, why do I feel like this? Let me tell you gently. Your heart was carrying things Allah never asked you to carry. You were carrying responsibility for people's behavior. You were carrying guilt for things outside your control. You were carrying worry about outcomes Allah already decided, and you carried it silently. You told yourself, if I care more, things will improve. If I hold on longer, things will change. If I try harder, I can fix this. But some things were never yours to fix, and your heart paid the price. Allah saw that. He saw how your heart kept picking up weight that was never meant for it. Weight of expectations, weight of responsibility, weight of emotional labor. And slowly that weight began to crush you. So Allah stepped in, not loudly, not suddenly, but gently. He began to remove the burden by loosening your attachment. That is why you feel different now. That is why you don't feel the same urgency. That is why you don't feel the same pressure to save everything. Allah is teaching your heart a very important truth. You are not responsible for everything. You are not responsible for fixing people. You are not responsible for controlling outcomes. You are not responsible for carrying everyone's emotions. Those burdens belong to Allah. And when you carried them, your heart suffered. This is why Allah allowed your heart to feel tired. Not as punishment, but as a signal that said, enough. Because sometimes Allah allows exhaustion so you finally stop doing what is harming you. When the heart keeps carrying what it cannot handle, Allah allows it to feel heavy, so it learns to let go. This letting go does not feel dramatic, it feels quiet. You simply stop trying so hard. You stop worrying as much. You stop forcing solutions. And for the first time, your heart breathes. That breath feels strange because you are used to tension. You are used to being alert. You are used to being emotionally on guard. You are used to carrying responsibility everywhere you go. So when Allah removes that burden, your heart feels empty at first. But listen carefully, that emptiness is not loss. It is relief. It is the feeling of weight being lifted. After carrying it for too long, Allah is teaching your heart trust. Trust that He is handling what you released. Trust that He sees what you no longer chase. Trust that He is in control. Before, your heart believed that if it didn't carry everything, everything would fall apart. Allah is showing you the opposite. Things continue. Life continues. Allah continues. Even when you step back, this is why your heart feels lighter now, but also confused, because you are learning a new way to live, a way where Allah carries the heavy things and your heart carries only what it was designed to carry. Faith, hope, patience, not the weight of the world. And my dear one, and this lesson is not easy, because letting go feels scary when you are used to control. But Allah does not remove burdens without replacing them with peace. Slowly you begin to realize that the things you released were never bringing you peace anyway. They were draining you. So Allah removed them to protect you. And this protection comes quietly, not with applause, not with signs, just with a calmer heart. If you feel less pressure now, less urgency, less emotional weight, do not feel guilty. You are not abandoning responsibility. You are returning responsibility to Allah. And that is exactly where it belongs. As Allah continues to lift the weight from your heart, you may begin to notice something subtle but powerful. You no longer feel responsible for how everyone feels. You no longer feel guilty when people are unhappy. You no longer carry the burden of fixing every situation. Before, your heart believed that love meant responsibility, that caring meant carrying, that being a good person meant holding everyone together. And because of that belief, you kept taking on more than you could handle. You told yourself, if I let go, I am selfish. If I stop trying, I am weak. If I don't worry, something bad will happen. Allah is gently correcting those thoughts. He is showing your heart that trust is not laziness, that surrender is not neglect, that letting go is not failure. Letting go is faith. Faith that Allah is doing what you cannot. Faith that Allah sees what you release. Faith that Allah manages what overwhelms you. This is why the heart feels calmer now. Not because life is easier, but because your heart is no longer trying to control life. You begin to accept that some people will change and it is not your fault. Some doors will close and it is not your failure. Some answers will never come, and that does not mean you did something wrong. This understanding frees your heart, and freedom feels unfamiliar. When you are used to emotional pressure, you may feel strange when you stop worrying. You may feel empty when you stop carrying. You may even feel guilty for feeling lighter. But Allah is teaching your heart something very important. Peace is not something you earn by suffering. Peace is something Allah gives. When you trust Him, before you thought carrying everything made you strong. Now Allah is showing you that strength comes from knowing your limits. And knowing your limits is a form of humility. Humility that says, Allah is capable, I am not. This humility does not make you small. It makes you safe. Because when Allah carries the heavy things, your heart is free to heal. You begin to sleep better. You breathe deeper. You stop replaying everything in your mind. And slowly you realize something beautiful. Nothing fell apart when you let go. The world did not collapse. Life did not end. Allah did not abandon you. In fact, things became clearer. What stayed was meant to stay. What left was never yours to carry. And your heart feels steadier because of it. This is the moment when Allah replaces burden with wisdom. Wisdom that teaches you when to care and when to step back, when to give and when to protect your peace. This is not selfishness. This is balance guided by Allah, my dear one. This stage may feel quiet, but it is powerful because Allah is rebuilding your heart on trust instead of fear. And a heart built on trust cannot be crushed by what it releases. You are not weak for letting go. You are becoming strong in the way Allah loves most. Allah is teaching you to love without losing yourself. There was a time when loving meant losing yourself. You cared so deeply that you forgot your own needs. You gave so much that you emptied yourself. You stayed quiet just to keep peace. You tolerated pain just to keep connection. And you told yourself, this is love. This is loyalty. This is who I am. But inside, something was slowly breaking. You began to feel invisible, unheard, unappreciated, and yet you kept loving the same way. Allah saw that. He saw how your heart confused love with sacrifice without limits. How you believed that if you loved enough, things would change. How you thought losing yourself was the price of keeping others. So Allah stepped in, not to take love away from you, but to teach your heart a healthier kind of love. That is why you don't love the same way anymore. That is why you don't pour yourself out endlessly. That is why you don't chase closeness at the cost of your dignity. That is why you don't tolerate what once felt normal. This is not hardness. This is wisdom. Allah is teaching your heart that love should not erase you. You can care deeply without disappearing. You can give without destroying yourself. You can stay kind without staying silent in pain. Before, your heart thought love meant enduring everything. Now, Allah is teaching your heart that love also means boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They are protection. Protection for your peace. Protection for your faith. Protection for your emotional well-being. Allah does not want you broken in the name of love. He does not want you drained in the name of kindness. So He slows your heart down. He removes urgency. He removes desperation. He removes the fear of losing people at any cost. And in that calm, your heart learns something new. You learn to pause before giving everything. You learn to observe before attaching deeply. You learn to ask yourself, is this bringing me closer to Allah or further from myself? This awareness feels strange at first because you are used to giving without thinking, loving without limits, forgiving without healing. But Allah is reshaping your heart. He is teaching it to love with balance. Balance that does not come from selfishness, but from self-respect. And self-respect is not pride. It is knowing that Allah honored you. You were not created to be emotionally crushed. You were not created to be constantly hurt. You were not created to disappear for others. So Allah removes the version of love that was hurting you. He replaces it with something quieter. A love that is patient but not desperate. A love that is kind but not weak. A love that gives but also knows when to step back. This is why you may feel different now. You still care, but you don't chase. You still love, but you don't beg. You still forgive, but you don't forget. Listen. And that does not make you distant. It makes you grounded. Allah is grounding your heart so that your love becomes healthier, not heavier. And my dear one, and this stage is important because unhealthy love leads to resentment. Unbalanced giving leads to burnout. Silent suffering leads to broken faith. Allah is protecting you from all of that. So if someone tells you you're not the same anymore, smile gently, because you are not. You are learning to love without losing the person Allah created you to be. As Allah continues to reshape the way your heart loves, you may notice something very gentle happening inside you. You no longer feel the urge to chase people who walk away. You no longer feel the need to explain your pain to those who don't listen. You no longer beg for understanding from hearts that are not ready to give it. Before, your heart believed that love meant holding tighter when someone pulled away. So you tried harder, you gave more. You ignored your own discomfort just to keep the connection alive. And each time you did that, a small part of you was lost. Allah saw that loss. He saw how your heart kept shrinking so others could feel comfortable. And Allah does not want His servant to live that way. So He began to teach your heart dignity. Not pride, not ego, but quiet dignity. The dignity that says, I can love you without chasing you. I can care without hurting myself. I can walk away from what harms my peace. This dignity feels new to you because you are used to measuring love by how much you are willing to suffer. Allah is correcting that understanding. He is showing your heart that real love does not require self-destruction. That love should feel safe. That love should feel calm. That love should not constantly make you question your worth. This is why you feel less attached now. Not because you care less, but because you value your soul more. You begin to choose peace over proving your loyalty. You choose silence over unnecessary arguments. You choose distance over repeated hurt. And for the first time, your heart does not feel guilty for choosing itself, because Allah is teaching you that protecting your heart is not selfish. It is responsible. A heart that is constantly wounded cannot worship Allah with presence. A heart that is always anxious cannot enjoy faith. So Allah protects your heart by teaching it when to step back. You may also notice now that you are more selective with your energy. You listen more. You speak less. You observe before you open your heart. This does not make you closed. It makes you wise. Allah is giving your heart discernment, the ability to feel but not be pulled in every direction, the ability to love but not lose yourself in the process. And my dear one, this stage may feel lonely at times because you are no longer surrounded by emotional noise. But this loneliness is not emptiness. It is clarity. In this clarity, Allah shows you who adds peace to your life and who drains it, who brings you closer to Him and who pulls you away. And with this clarity, your heart becomes lighter. You no longer force closeness. You allow it to form naturally. You no longer cling. You trust. You no longer fear losing people, because you know Allah never removes someone without a reason. This trust changes everything. It makes your love calmer, your presence steadier, your heart stronger. So if you feel less emotionally attached now, less desperate for connection, less afraid of being alone, do not fight it. Allah is teaching your heart a love that is rooted in peace, not pain. A love that does not demand you disappear. A love that allows you to remain whole. And when love is healthy, it no longer hurts to give it. It feels safe. It feels gentle. It feels like something Allah approves of. You are not losing your ability to love. You are learning how to love without losing yourself. And that lesson will protect your heart for the rest of your life. When expectations fade, peace begins. One of the quietest changes Allah makes in the heart is when expectations slowly begin to fade. Not all at once, not suddenly, but gently. There was a time when you expected a lot. You expected people to understand you without you having to explain yourself. You expected loyalty because you were loyal, effort because you gave effort, honesty because you were honest. And when those expectations were not met, your heart hurt. Not because you demanded too much, but because you expected people to give what you were willing to give. You expected consistency. You expected care. You expected fairness. And each time reality did not match your expectations, a small crack formed in your heart. You tried to fix it by lowering your standards, but by making excuses for others, by telling yourself, they didn't mean it, they're just busy, they'll change. But the heart remembers, and over time, expectations became a source of pain. Allah saw that. He saw how hope was turning into disappointment, how waiting was turning into sadness, how trust was slowly becoming exhaustion. So Allah did something very merciful. He began to remove expectations from your heart. That is why you no longer expect the same things from people. That is why you are less surprised when people change. That is why broken promises no longer shock you the same way. This does not mean you have become negative. It means you have become realistic, with Allah guiding your heart. Allah is teaching your heart that peace does not come from people meeting expectations. Peace comes from trusting Allah, no matter what people do. Before, your heart would say, if they do this, I will be okay. If this works out, I will finally rest. If they understand me, I will feel complete. Now, your heart says something different. Allah knows. Allah says. Allah will take care of this. And that shift changes everything. When expectations die, resentment dies with them. You stop keeping score. You stop replaying moments. You stop asking, why didn't they show up the way I did? Your heart becomes quieter. Not because you stopped caring, but because you stopped demanding peace from places that cannot give it. This is not bitterness. This is wisdom. Allah is teaching your heart where to place its hopes safely. Hoping in people can break you. Hoping in outcomes can exhaust you. Hoping in Allah steadies you. And this lesson does not come easily. At first, losing expectations feels like losing hope. You may feel disappointed when you realize that some people will never give you what you gave them. You may feel sad when you accept that certain dreams will not unfold the way you imagined. But acceptance brings relief, because the heart can finally stop waiting. Waiting drains the soul. Waiting for change. Waiting for apologies. Waiting for effort. Allah does not want you stuck in waiting. So He frees your heart by removing expectations. And once expectations leave, peace quietly enters. You find yourself less reactive, less emotional, less affected by people's actions. Not because you don't feel anymore, but because your heart no longer builds its happiness on fragile foundations. You learn to appreciate what is given without expecting more. You learn to accept people as they are without trying to shape them. You learn to say, this is who they are and that is okay. And this acceptance feels heavy at first, but later it feels freeing because the heart stops fighting reality. Allah is teaching your heart surrender. Not surrender to disappointment, but surrender to His wisdom. You realize that Allah never promised that people would always be fair, but He promised that He would always be just. He never promised that life would be easy, but He promised that He would be enough. So your heart begins to lean on Allah instead of leaning on expectations. And this is where peace begins. As Allah continues to remove expectations from your heart, you begin to notice a quiet freedom you never had before. You stop checking your phone so often. You stop waiting for certain words. You stop hoping someone will suddenly become who they have never been. And at first this feels strange, because for a long time waiting was part of your life. Waiting for replies, waiting for change, waiting for effort, waiting for understanding. Your heart lived in that waiting, and waiting slowly drains the soul. Allah saw how much energy your heart spent, hoping people would rise to the level of your sincerity. So He gently taught your heart to stop waiting, not out of anger, not out of disappointment, but out of wisdom. You begin to realize something important. People give what they are able to give, not what you deserve, not what you would give in their place. And once you accept this, your heart stops arguing with reality. You no longer feel shocked when someone fails you. You no longer feel crushed when promises break. You no longer feel the need to explain your pain again and again, because your heart is no longer expecting what was never promised. This does not make you bitter. It makes you calm. Bitterness comes from unmet expectations. Peace comes from releasing them. Allah is not telling you to expect nothing from anyone. He is teaching you not to expect everything from people. There is a difference. You still appreciate kindness. You still value effort. You still enjoy love. But you no longer build your happiness on the assumption that people will always show up correctly. Your heart learns flexibility, and flexibility keeps the heart from breaking. You also begin to notice that when expectations leave, gratitude becomes easier. You appreciate what is given without measuring what is missing. You smile without needing more. You accept without resistance. This is not settling. This is contentment. Contentment does not mean you stop hoping. It means you place hope in the right place. Hope in Allah does not exhaust the heart. Hope in Allah does not disappoint, because Allah always responds, even if the answer is different from what you imagined. This stage teaches your heart something very powerful, that peace is not found in people doing what you want. Peace is found in trusting Allah with what you cannot control. And when your heart learns this, it becomes steady, even in disappointment, even in delay, even in loss. You still feel sadness when things don't work out, but sadness no longer turns into resentment. You still feel pain when someone lets you down, but pain no longer turns into bitterness, because your heart says, Allah knows, Allah says, Allah will replace. And that trust keeps you standing. My dear one, this stage feels quiet because there is no longer emotional noise inside you. No constant hoping, no constant disappointment, no constant inner arguments. Just acceptance. Acceptance that frees the heart from fighting what it cannot change. Allah did not remove expectations to make you numb. He removed them to make you peaceful. So if you feel less reactive now, less emotionally invested, less shaken by people's actions, do not think something is wrong. Something heavy has been lifted. Your heart no longer lives in waiting rooms. It lives in trust. And trust is one of the greatest gifts Allah places in a heart. Because a heart that trusts Allah cannot be destroyed by disappointment. Emotional quiet often means spiritual nearness. There comes a point where your heart becomes quiet in a way you have never known before. Not empty, not numb, just quiet. The noise that once lived inside you slowly fades. The rush of emotion settles. The constant pull of the world becomes softer. And you sit there wondering, why do I feel like this? You might even worry. Why don't I feel strongly anymore? Why am I not reacting like before? Why does everything feel distant? Let me reassure you gently, this quiet is not a problem. This quiet is often a sign that Allah is drawing you closer. Before, your heart was loud because the world was loud inside it. Every situation demanded a reaction. Every opinion mattered. Every outcome felt urgent. Your heart was always busy worrying, busy planning, busy fearing loss. And that noise made it hard to hear Allah. So Allah softened the volume, not by taking life away, but by changing how your heart responds to it. You may notice now that you prefer silence more than before. You enjoy being alone without feeling lonely. You think deeply instead of reacting quickly. This is not withdrawal from life. This is awareness. Allah is guiding your heart inward, because sometimes guidance does not come through noise, but through stillness. Before, emotions pulled you in every direction. Now, they pass through you more gently. You still feel sadness, but it does not overwhelm you. You still feel happiness, but you do not cling to it. You still feel pain, but you do not panic. That is not weakness. That is stability. Allah is teaching your heart to stand still while the world moves around it. This stage often confuses people because they think closeness to Allah must always feel emotional and intense. But sometimes closeness feels calm. Sometimes it feels like breathing deeply. After holding your breath for years, your heart is no longer chasing the world. So it finally has the strength to turn toward Allah. And when the heart turns toward Allah, it begins to rest. You may notice now that you pray differently. Not louder, not longer, but deeper. Your words feel fewer, but more sincere. Your dua becomes simple. Ya Allah, you know. Ya Allah, help me. Ya Allah, I trust you. And that is enough, because Allah hears what the heart cannot explain. This emotional quiet is often Allah's way of healing you without reopening old wounds. You have cried enough. You have questioned enough. You have carried enough pain. So Allah allows your heart to feel calm so it can recover. This calm may feel unfamiliar because you are used to emotional highs and lows. But Allah is teaching your heart something higher than emotion. He is teaching it peace. Peace does not shout. Peace does not demand attention. Peace simply exists. And that peace grows when the heart learns that Allah is near. Not only in moments of crisis, but in moments of silence. You begin to feel Allah's presence. Not through strong emotion, but through quiet certainty. Certainty that you are not alone. Certainty that your life is being guided. Certainty that even when you do not understand, Allah understands. This is why emotional distance from the dunya often comes with spiritual nearness to Allah. When the heart stops clinging to the world, it opens to something greater, not louder, but deeper. And my dear one, this stage may feel lonely at times, not because people left, but because your heart is no longer crowded. There is space now, and in that space Allah speaks, not always with words, but with reassurance, with patience, with trust, with calm that stays even when answers do not come. You may notice that you no longer fear uncertainty the way you used to. Before, not knowing scared you. Now, not knowing feels manageable because you trust the one who knows. This is not emotional shutdown. This is spiritual grounding. Allah is anchoring your heart so that storms no longer throw it off balance. You are learning to be okay even when things are unclear. And that is a sign of deep faith, because faith is not always loud confidence. Sometimes it is quiet acceptance. Sometimes it is sitting with unanswered questions and still trusting Allah. This quiet strength is rare, and Allah gives it to hearts He loves. As this quiet settles deeper inside you, you may begin to notice that your heart is no longer afraid of silence. Before, silence scared you. It made you overthink. It made you imagine the worst. It made your heart rush to fill the emptiness with noise, distraction, or people. Now, silence feels different. It feels safe. You can sit alone with your thoughts without feeling overwhelmed. You can be still without needing constant reassurance. This is not isolation. This is inner stability. Allah is teaching your heart how to stand without leaning heavily on anything else. You begin to understand that not every feeling needs expression. Not every thought needs to be shared. Not every emotion needs action. This restraint is not suppression. It is wisdom. Allah is teaching your heart when to speak and when to remain quiet, because not every silence is absence. Sometimes silence is presence. The presence of Allah filling the space where chaos once lived. You may notice that worldly things excite you less now, not because they are bad, but because your heart has tasted something deeper. You still enjoy life. You still smile. You still appreciate blessings. But you no longer chase excitement to feel alive. You no longer depend on constant stimulation to feel okay. This is because Allah has given your heart contentment. Contentment does not remove ambition. It removes restlessness. You no longer feel like you are missing something when things are quiet. You no longer feel the urge to escape stillness. Instead, stillness becomes your refuge. This is where Allah meets the heart most gently. When the heart stops running, it finally listens. And what it hears is reassurance. You hear Allah telling your heart, I am with you. I have not forgotten you. You are being guided even when you cannot see how. This reassurance does not come as excitement. It comes as calm certainty. A certainty that settles so deeply that even when life shakes, your heart remains steady. You may also notice that your reactions to hardship have changed. Before, difficulty made you panic. It made you question everything. It made you feel lost. Now, difficulty still hurts, but it does not confuse you the same way. You pause, you reflect, you turn to Allah more quickly. Not because you force yourself, but because your heart knows where safety is. This is spiritual nearness, not dramatic, not loud, but strong. Allah is teaching your heart reliance. Reliance does not mean you stop trying. It means you stop collapsing when things don't go your way. You do what you can and you leave the rest to Allah. And this balance brings peace. A peace that does not depend on answers. a peace that does not disappear in uncertainty, a peace that remains even when the future is unclear. This is why your heart feels quieter now, because it trusts more. Trust does not shout, trust rests. And rest is something your heart needed for a long time. You were tired of carrying worry, tired of carrying fear, tired of carrying pressure. Allah removed those layers gently so your heart could finally breathe. And as your heart breathes, it heals. Not all wounds disappear immediately, but they stop bleeding, and that is progress. My dear one, do not rush the stage. Do not force emotions back. Do not assume something is missing. What you are experiencing is rare. It is a heart being taught peace directly by Allah. Many people spend their entire lives searching for this calm. In people, in success, in distraction. Allah gave it to you through stillness, through quiet, through nearness to Him. So if you feel emotionally quieter now, less reactive, less shaken, do not be afraid. Your heart is not drifting away from life. It is anchoring itself in Allah. And a heart anchored in Allah cannot be lost. Allah is preparing you for a stronger tomorrow. There are seasons in life when Allah is not fixing what is around you. He is fixing you. And this can be confusing because you keep asking Allah to change the situation, to remove the hardship, to make things easier. But Allah keeps the situation the same while something inside you quietly changes. At first, you don't notice it. You only feel tired. You feel stretched. You feel tested in ways you cannot explain. You feel like life keeps pressing on the same sensitive places again and again. And you wonder, why is this not ending? Let me tell you gently, some things do not end because Allah is not done strengthening your heart yet. Before, your heart needed comfort. Now it needs strength. Before, your heart needed reassurance. Now it needs resilience. Allah knows what kind of future you are being prepared for. Some futures require a soft heart. Some require a strong heart. And some require both. So Allah prepares you quietly. Not by applause. Not by success stories. But by pressure. Pressure that builds endurance. Pressure that removes fear. Pressure that teaches your heart how to stand firm, even when answers do not come. This is why certain struggles stay longer than you expect. Not because Allah is ignoring you, but because Allah is equipping you. You may notice that things that once broke you no longer have the same power. They still hurt, but they do not destroy you. You bent, but you do not shatter. This is not accidental. Allah has been strengthening your inner foundation. You are being taught how to stay steady when life does not go your way. Before, uncertainty terrified you. You needed clear answers, clear timelines, clear guarantees. Now, uncertainty feels heavy, but it does not paralyze you. You keep moving, you keep trusting, you keep showing up. That is strength. And strength is built slowly. Allah does not drop strength into the heart all at once. He trains it. Just like a muscle grows under resistance, the heart grows under patience. Every delay you endured, every disappointment you survived, every unanswered prayer you kept trusting through, none of it was wasted. It was shaping you. You may feel like you've been walking alone lately, not because people disappeared, but because Allah wanted your attention. Sometimes Allah separates us from distractions so we can focus on what truly matters. He wants your heart strong enough that it does not depend on constant support, strong enough that it does not collapse when approval disappears. strong enough that it stands even when misunderstood. This is not loneliness. This is training. Allah is teaching your heart self-trust, rooted in trust in Him. You may notice now that you don't ask for help the same way anymore. Not because you don't need people, but because you know Allah is sufficient. You still appreciate support, but you no longer crumble without it. This is inner strength. And inner strength is quiet. It does not announce itself. It does not seek recognition. It simply remains. You may also notice that Allah is testing your patience more deeply now. Not patience for a day, not patience for a week, but patience that stretches over months, sometimes years. This kind of patience reshapes the soul. It removes impulsiveness. It removes desperation. It removes fear-driven decisions. Allah is slowing you down so you do not rush into what is not meant for you. Some blessings arrive late because they require a stronger version of you to hold them. If they came early, they would overwhelm you. So Allah prepares the container before He pours the gift. And that container is your heart. This preparation can feel heavy. You may feel like you are always being tested while others seem to move ahead easily. But remember, Allah trains His strongest servants privately. Not everyone can handle this process. Some people would break under this pressure. But Allah chose you because He knows you can endure. And endurance is not loud. It is waking up again. It is praying again. It is trusting again. Even when the heart feels tired, you are learning how to survive storms without losing your faith. You are learning how to stay kind without being weak. You are learning how to remain patient without becoming bitter. This balance is rare and Allah builds it carefully. So if you feel like life has been hard for a long time, do not assume it is pointless. Allah is strengthening you for a chapter that requires courage, for responsibilities that demand maturity, for blessings that require stability. This season is not meant to be comfortable. It is meant to make you capable. As this season of preparation continues, you may notice something quietly changing inside you. You no longer panic the way you used to. You still feel pressure, but it does not make you lose control. You still face uncertainty, but it does not stop you from moving forward. Before, hardship felt personal. It felt like a sign that something was wrong with you. It felt like failure. Now, hardship feels different. It feels like resistance, like something pushing against you, so you can grow stronger. Allah is teaching your heart endurance. Endurance does not mean you stop feeling pain. It means pain no longer defines you. You may still feel tired some days. You may still feel discouraged at times, but you no longer give up on yourself. That is strength. Allah is training your heart to keep standing, even when motivation disappears. Because real strength is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments when you feel nothing, but still choose to do what is right. You may notice now that Allah tests you in deeper ways. Not always with loss, but with responsibility. Not always with hardship, but with waiting. Waiting that teaches discipline. Waiting that teaches restraint. Waiting that teaches trust. This waiting removes impatience from the heart. It teaches you that not everything must happen immediately. That rushing often ruins what patience perfects. Allah is slowing you down so you do not make decisions out of fear, because fear makes us grab what is not meant for us. And Allah loves you too much to let you build your future on fear. So He teaches your heart to stay steady even when answers are delayed. You may also notice that Allah is strengthening your faith by allowing you to walk without constant reassurance. Before, you needed signs. You needed reminders. You needed confirmation. Now you walk forward even when you cannot see clearly. That is trust. Trust that does not depend on proof. Trust that does not collapse when emotions fluctuate. Allah is teaching your heart confidence in His plan. Not confidence that everything will be easy, but confidence that everything has purpose. And this confidence changes the way you carry yourself. You no longer beg life to be kind to you. You meet life with calm. You no longer panic when things go wrong. You adjust. You no longer fear setbacks. You learn from them. This is resilience. And resilience is built slowly through repeated challenges that do not break you. Allah also strengthens your heart by allowing you to be misunderstood. This is one of the hardest tests, to be doing your best, to be sincere, and still be misjudged. Before, misunderstanding would crush you. You would over-explain. You would defend yourself. You would feel anxious. Now, you remain calm. You let Allah defend you. You let time reveal truth, because Allah is teaching your heart that not everyone needs to understand you for your life to move forward. This lesson frees you. It removes the need for constant validation. It removes the pressure to please everyone. And with that pressure gone, your heart becomes stronger. You may feel alone at times during this stage. Not because you are abandoned, but because Allah is building your independence. Independence from people's approval. Independence from constant support. Independence from emotional crutches. This does not mean you stop loving people. It means you stop needing them to survive emotionally. And that strength prepares you for leadership, responsibility, and impact. Allah does not give heavy responsibilities to weak hearts. He prepares the heart first. That preparation looks like struggle. It looks like endurance. It looks like patience that stretches longer than you expected. But one day you will look back and realize that this season built you, built your discipline, built your patience, built your trust in Allah. You will realize that if things had been easier, you would not have been ready. So if you feel like you have been in preparation for a long time, do not lose hope. Allah does not prepare hearts without purpose. You are not being delayed. You are being strengthened. And when Allah finally opens the next door, you will walk through it, not as the person you once were, but as someone capable of handling what comes next. Strong, steady, grounded. And that strength will carry you through everything that follows. When Allah is enough, nothing owns your heart. There comes a moment when the heart finally rests. Not because life has become perfect. Not because problems have disappeared. Not because every prayer has been answered the way you wanted. But because the heart has learned something sacred. It has learned that Allah is enough. Before, your heart was always reaching for reassurance, reaching for stability, reaching for people to stay the same, reaching for outcomes to go your way. And every time what you reached for moved away, your heart followed it. It rose and fell with people. It felt strong when things worked out and weak when they didn't. Your peace depended on too many things. Allah saw that. And slowly, through all the stages you've walked through, He brought your heart here to this place of quiet acceptance. You may not have noticed when it happened. There was no announcement, no dramatic moment, just a slow realization that even when things don't go your way, you are still okay. Even when people misunderstand you, your heart remains steady. Even when the future feels uncertain, you are not afraid the way you used to be. This is not numbness. This is freedom. Freedom from needing the world to behave perfectly. For your heart to feel safe. Your heart has learned where safety truly comes from. It comes from Allah. And once the heart understands this, nothing controls it the same way anymore. People can come and go. Plans can change. Doors can close. And the heart does not collapse. It feels pain, yes, but it does not lose itself because it is anchored in trust. You may notice now that you don't chase peace anymore. You don't beg for it. You don't demand it from others. You simply return to Allah in silence, in prayer, in remembrance. And peace meets you there. Not loud peace, not excitement, but steady peace. The kind that stays even when life shakes. This is what it means when Allah becomes enough. It does not mean you stop caring about people. It means people no longer own your heart. It does not mean you stop dreaming. It means dreams no longer control your worth. It does not mean you stop loving. It means love no longer destroys you. Your heart has learned balance. And balance is a sign of deep faith. Before, you loved intensely and suffered intensely. Now you love calmly and trust deeply. You still feel emotions, but emotions do not rule you. You still experience loss, but loss does not define you. This is inner strength shaped by surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means giving control to Allah. And control was the thing that exhausted you the most. Trying to control outcomes, trying to control people, trying to control timing. Allah gently removed that burden. Now your heart flows instead of fights. When something leaves, you say, Allah knows. When something arrives, you say, Alhamdulillah. And when something delays, you say, there is wisdom here. This language of the heart is what keeps you steady. You may notice now that your reactions are softer. You no longer rush to judge. You no longer rush to speak. You no longer rush to defend yourself. You trust Allah to handle what you release. And that trust gives you dignity, a clear dignity. You walk through life without desperation, without fear of being left behind, without anxiety about being misunderstood, because you know that Allah sees everything and Allah never forgets His servant. The stage feels calm because your heart is no longer fighting reality. It accepts what is. It trusts what will be. It rests in what Allah chooses. And this rest is powerful. It allows you to show up fully without needing approval. It allows you to give without expecting return. It allows you to stand alone without feeling lonely. Because you are not alone. Allah is with you, closer than your own breath. And when the heart truly believes that, it becomes unshakable. My dear one, this stage does not mean life will stop testing you, but tests will no longer terrify you. It does not mean pain will disappear, but pain will no longer define you. It does not mean you will never struggle, but struggle will no longer steal your faith, because your heart has learned that Allah is not just a helper in difficulty. He is the foundation of your peace. And once Allah becomes the foundation, nothing else can take that place. This is the deepest calm. The calm that comes not from answers, but from trust. Not from control, but from surrender. Not from people, but from Allah. If you stayed with me until this moment, I want you to understand something very important. This was not just a video you watched. This was a conversation your heart needed. Everything you've been feeling, the quiet detachment, the emotional distance, the strange calm mixed with confusion. It was never a sign that you were losing yourself. It was a sign that Allah was finding you. You were never becoming cold. You were becoming clear. You were never losing your heart. Your heart was being returned to the safest place it could ever belong, to Allah. And maybe life hasn't suddenly become easy. Maybe the questions are still there. Maybe the future is still unclear. But notice this, your heart is no longer panicking the same way. You're still standing. You're still breathing. You're still trusting even quietly. That is not weakness. That is strength shaped by Allah. My dear one, if Allah brought you through confusion, He will bring you to clarity. If He allowed detachment, He is preparing deeper connection. And if He made your heart quiet, it is because He wanted to speak to it gently. So don't rush this phase. Don't force old emotions back. Don't chase what Allah is slowly removing. Let your heart rest. Let Allah finish what He started. Because Allah never begins a healing He does not intend to complete. And before you leave, I want you to do one simple thing. Just whisper in your heart, Ya Allah, I trust you with what I don't understand. That dua alone is enough to carry you forward. May Allah protect your heart. May He replace every loss with peace. And may He make your heart firm, calm and safe with Him. Ameen. If this message felt like it was meant for you, let that be your sign. You were never forgotten. You were being guided quietly